The painting brought into Isabella's antique shop shocked her to the core. She'd seen this artwork before in FBI training as part of World War II Nazi art theft case studies. Officially missing since 1943, estimated value $15 million. This is impossible, she said to herself, and now it's in my shop. Before we dive into this incredible story, tell us in the comments which city you're watching from today. And if this story moves you, make sure to subscribe because tomorrow I have something very special planned for you. Heritage Fine Arts and Antiques occupied a meticulously restored 19th century mansion on King Street in Charleston's Historic Arts District. Its 12 rooms displaying carefully curated collections that had earned recognition from Smithsonian curators, international collectors, and authentication experts worldwide. At 2:30 p.m. on a crisp October Wednesday, the gallery maintained the reverent quiet that serious art appreciation required. Isabella Martinez had been operating the gallery for 5 years, having transformed what had once been a neglected Victorian property into one of the Southeast's most respected venues for authenticated historical artwork, period furniture, and culturally significant artifacts. At 43, she discovered that connecting beautiful objects with people who understood their historical importance provided a satisfaction that her previous high-pressure career had never offered. The clientele was sophisticated and international. Museum acquisition directors seeking specific pieces for upcoming exhibitions. Private collectors building themed collections worth millions. Estate attorneys managing inherited artwork from prominent families. And occasionally celebrities or Fortune 500. Executives seeking investment-quality pieces that would appreciate substantially while providing daily aesthetic pleasure. Approached every potential acquisition with systematic analysis that clients attributed to exceptional art history education, advanced authentication training, and an almost supernatural ability to detect forgeries, reproductions, and pieces with questionable provenance. Her reputation for scholarly rigor had prevented numerous expensive mistakes and had saved collectors from unwittingly purchasing stolen or fraudulent artwork. What clients never suspected was that Isabella's meticulous approach to art evaluation stemmed from 17 years as an FBI art crime team specialist, where she developed expertise in authenticating artwork, tracing complex ownership histories, and recognizing the sophisticated patterns that indicated theft, international trafficking, or elaborate forgery schemes designed to fool even experienced collectors. Her federal background had involved investigating art-related crimes ranging from simple insurance fraud to international terrorism, funding operations that used stolen masterpieces as untraceable currency. She'd worked cases involving Nazi-looted artwork, museum heists, archaeological trafficking, and complex money laundering schemes that exploited the art world's traditional discretion about ownership details. At 2:47 p.m. Isabella was updating her authentication database when an impeccably dressed man in his early 70s entered carrying a protective art transport case that signaled serious intent. He introduced himself as Charles Brennan, explaining he was considering consigning a family heirloom that had remained in storage since his grandmother's death 15 years earlier. "It's been quite a burden," Brennan admitted. "Grandmother always insisted it was valuable, but none of us have the expertise to care for such things. She acquired it in Europe after the war, said it reminded her of gardens in France." Isabella began her standard evaluation, gathering information about provenance, insurance, and the family's connection to the work. Brennan's narrative was detailed. He described inheriting not only the painting, but also his grandmother's extensive documentation of her post-war art purchases. "She was adventurous for a woman of that era," Brennan continued, carefully unwrapping a moderately sized oil painting. "Spent several years in Europe in the 1950s. Claimed she was studying art history, but I think she was simply enjoying life after losing her husband in the Pacific." When Isabella saw the painting, her 17 years of FBI training screamed warnings she struggled to suppress. Measuring about 18 by 24 inches, it depicted a garden scene with the unmistakable brushwork and palette of Claude Monet's later period. More alarming was her recognition of the exact composition. The damage near the lower right corner, the distinctive impasto in the sky details burned into her memory from FBI training materials on Nazi art theft. Maintaining composure, Isabella continued her preliminary examination, but her trained eye was already cataloging evidence that confirmed her most troubling suspicions. "Mr. Brennan," Isabella said with carefully controlled voice, "this appears to be an exceptionally significant piece. I'll need to conduct extensive provenance research and technical analysis before we can discuss any consignment arrangements." Isabella excused herself to retrieve specialized examination equipment, but her real purpose was accessing her secure office database to conduct the verification check that could confirm or disprove what she desperately hoped was mistaken recognition. The FBI Art Loss Register, Interpol's database of stolen cultural property, and international Holocaust restitution records maintained by various organizations were resources that former federal agents could access for legitimate authentication purposes. Her computer search confirmed her worst fears within minutes. The painting was Garden at Giverny, Evening Light, a Claude Monet masterpiece that had been systematically looted from the Berlin residence of Dr. Heinrich Rosenberg in March 1943 during the Nazi regime's organized confiscation of Jewish-owned artwork. The piece had been missing for over 80 years, with current estimated value exceeding $15 million. Dr. Heinrich Rosenberg had been a prominent Berlin physician and art collector whose family had assembled one of Germany's most significant private collections over 3 generations. The Rosenberg collection included works by Monet, Picasso, Degas, and other masters, representing not just tremendous financial value, but irreplaceable cultural heritage that connected Jewish families to centuries of European artistic achievement. The systematic theft of the Rosenberg collection had occurred just weeks before Dr. Rosenberg, his wife, and their 2 children were deported to Auschwitz concentration camp. Nazi records indicated that over 200 artworks had been confiscated from the Rosenberg home, with most pieces subsequently distributed among high-ranking Nazi officials or sold through Swiss dealers to fund military operations. That Isabella's FBI training had included extensive study of Nazi art theft operations, which represented the largest systematic confiscation of cultural property in human history. Understanding these cases was crucial for contemporary art crime investigators because many stolen pieces continued surfacing in legitimate art markets decades later, often owned by individuals who had no knowledge whatsoever of their criminal origins. Isabella returned to the gallery floor, aware her next steps would decide whether a $15 million masterpiece was restored to its rightful heirs or vanished again in a private glance. Charles Brennan's documentation looked authentic, but Isabella's federal training revealed subtle flaws: paper aging, ink composition, and signatures inconsistent with true provenance. His grandmother's financial history also didn't support acquiring a Monet of such value, and while her travel records were extensive, they lacked any ties to European dealers capable of supplying masterpieces. "The painting will require several weeks of analysis," Isabella told Brennan calmly. "Authentication involves technical examination, provenance checks, and consultation with international ownership databases." Once he left, Isabella immediately contacted federal authorities through secure channels, reconnecting with former art crime team specialists. Isabella Martinez, Agent 3472, retired 2020, she reported over the secure FBI line. "Positive identification of Nazi-looted artwork at my Charleston gallery. Claude Monet, stolen from a Berlin Jewish collector in 1943. Estimated value, $15 million. FBI Art Crime Team Coordinator Agent Sarah Chun responded to Isabella's notification within hours, understanding immediately the historical and legal significance of her discovery. Nazi-looted artwork cases involved complex international law, Holocaust restitution agreements, and coordination between multiple federal agencies, foreign governments, and survivor advocacy organizations. Isabella, the Rosenberg collection has been tracked by international authorities for decades, Agent Chun explained during their secure video conference. Your authentication could represent the most significant recovery from that theft since the 1990s. The investigation that followed confirmed Isabella's identification was absolutely accurate. Advanced technical analysis using infrared spectroscopy, paint sample dating, and canvas fiber examination provided definitive proof that the painting was authentic Monet from the exact time period when Dr. Rosenberg's collection was assembled. More significantly, microscopic analysis revealed traces of specific varnish compounds that matched other recovered pieces from the same collection. Isabella's expertise proved invaluable for understanding how the painting had circulated through legitimate art markets during the decades since its theft. Her knowledge of authentication procedures, international art law, and Nazi theft documentation patterns helped investigators trace the complex ownership chain that had allowed stolen artwork to appear legitimate to successive buyers. The painting changed ownership at least 7 times since 1950, Isabella explained to the federal investigation team. Each sale involved increasingly sophisticated forged documentation designed to create believable provenance that would satisfy authentication requirements at major auction houses. The case became particularly meaningful when investigators located Dr. Rosenberg's surviving family members. His grandson, David Rosenberg, now 67 and living in New York, had spent decades searching for any trace of his family's lost cultural heritage, working with Holocaust restitution organizations to recover artwork that represented both tremendous financial value and irreplaceable connection to murdered relatives. The restitution process required careful coordination between federal authorities, international Holocaust restitution organizations, and the Rosenberg family legal representatives, to ensure proper ownership transfer while protecting Charles Brennan, who appeared to be a completely innocent victim of sophisticated art fraud spanning multiple decades. This painting hung in my grandfather's study in Berlin, David Rosenberg told Isabella during their emotional first meeting. I have childhood memories of visiting their home, of grandfather explaining how Monet captured different qualities of light depending on the time of day. David's family had fled Germany in 1938, escaping the systematic persecution that would ultimately claim his grandparents and uncle. The stolen artwork represented not just financial loss, but the destruction of cultural heritage that connected Jewish families to centuries of European artistic achievement and intellectual life. The formal restitution ceremony took place 6 months after Isabella's initial identification, with representatives from the FBI, State Department, Holocaust survivors organizations, and international art recovery groups participating in the historic return of stolen cultural property to its rightful owners. Charles Brennan attended the ceremony, having been completely cleared of any criminal involvement after extensive investigation confirmed his innocent inheritance of fraudulent documentation. His cooperation with federal authorities had been exemplary, and he expressed genuine satisfaction that the artwork was being returned to families who had suffered tremendous historical injustice. Without Ms. Martinez's expertise, FBI Art Crime Team Coordinator Chun explained to assembled media, this masterpiece might have disappeared again into private collections where it could have remained hidden indefinitely. Her recognition represents justice delayed, but not denied. Isabella's successful Nazi art recovery generated consultation requests from museums, auction houses, and private collectors worldwide who needed expert analysis of potentially stolen pieces with similar historical backgrounds. Her unique combination of current art market knowledge and former federal art crime expertise made her invaluable for cases requiring both commercial understanding and law enforcement. The case also uncovered 3 more artworks from Dr. Rosenberg's stolen collection, pieces that had circulated in private collections and auction houses for decades without experts recognizing their Nazi-looted origins. Art authentication isn't just about deciding if something is genuine, Isabella told an international conference of dealers and auction specialists. We're also guardians of historical justice. Sometimes authentication uncovers crimes that demand correction across generations. Her gallery soon became a resource for art crime prevention, Holocaust restitution, and education on cultural property theft. She consulted with law enforcement, trained auction house staff to spot fraudulent provenance, and assisted families seeking lost heritage 6 months after the Monet restitution. Isabella had helped recover 4 more looted works, authenticated over $30 million worth of art, and earned national recognition as an expert in historical art crime. Her phone buzzed with a secure message from Agent Chun. Suspicious Picasso at Miami auction. Possible tie to 1944 Paris theft. Documentation patterns like your Monet case. Available for consultation. Isabella glanced around her gallery, feeling the weight of responsibility. "I'll review the files tonight," she texted back. Some discoveries change lives across Isabella's generations. Recognition of stolen Nazi artwork had reunited Holocaust survivor families with irreplaceable cultural heritage while demonstrating the ongoing importance of art crime investigation, historical justice efforts, and a moral obligation to correct injustices regardless of how much time had passed. Isabella Martinez, former FBI art crime team specialist, current guardian of artistic authenticity and historical truth, continued her mission one authentication at a time, one recovered masterpiece at a time, proving that the most important art discoveries happen when someone understands that every artwork carries within it the complete story of everyone who ever owned it, loved it, or had it stolen from them. Sometimes the most crucial historical justice takes place in quiet galleries, conducted by people who know how to read the evidence that art itself preserves across decades of concealment and lies. Have you ever discovered something that connected you to historical events, much larger than yourself? Share your experiences in the comments below and tell us what city you're watching from today, that if this story of hidden expertise and historical justice inspired you. Make sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell. Don't miss the compelling stories appearing on your screen right now. Click to discover more tales of everyday heroes with extraordinary knowledge who change lives in unexpected ways. Because sometimes the most important discoveries happen when someone knows how to recognize what should never have disappeared but did because of crimes that still demand justice across generations. See you in the next videos. Don't forget to like and subscribe.